Hi, Ghost Recaps here. Today we will be going through a drama, sci-fi movie from 2015. Named, The Martian. There will be spoilers ahead in this video, so chill out and enjoy. In the future, the intrepid crew of the Ares 3 expedition safely land on the arid red landscape of the distant planet Mars. Crew collect rock samples near Acidalia Planitia. Today he has been on Mars for 18 days. His colleagues inside warn him that a storm is coming. The storm turns out to be much worse than he had previously thought. Mark Watney, a botanist, says that we should wait because the storm may be less dangerous. But Commander Lewis feared that if the MAV overturned due to strong winds, he would be stranded on this barren planet. So Commander Lewis tells the mission to abort and prepare for an emergency launch, and the crew heads for the MAV, the ship that will take them back to Hermes. Outside, strong winds and blowing sand are blocking their path, when suddenly a satellite dish breaks and hits Watney. Due to this, he disappears from the eyes of the rest of the crew. Lewis attempts to find Watney, but visibility is too low and the storm is too strong for them. They go back to the MAV without Watney, because the rocket was falling due to strong winds. The crew was unable to contact Watney, and his suit's alarm went off, forcing the crew to abandon him, thinking he had died due to his space suit exploding. The crew abandons him. On Earth, NASA Director Teddy Sanders announces that Mark Watney was lost during the mission to Mars and has died, while the Hermes crew manages to leave Mars. Watney wakes up on Mars after the storm has passed. With his oxygen rapidly depleting and a metal rod lodged in his stomach, he urgently makes his way back to the accommodation station. The combination of the metal rod and his own blood sealed the suit so much that most of his air could not escape. In a painful procedure, Watney pulls the rod out, uses forceps to remove the broken piece from the wound, and then closes the wound with staples. He sits down to make a video log, where he outlines the situation. He is alive, but he cannot contact Earth or Hermes, and even if contact is made, it will be 4 years before the next manned mission is launched, and before then it will run out of food. And he was in a hub that was only designed to last 31 days. If the oxygenator fails, he will die of suffocation. If the water reclaimer fails, he will die of thirst. If the hub bursts, he will burn to ashes. And if, luckily, this does not happen, he will die of hunger. Despite all this, he makes it clear that he does not blame his crew for leaving him behind, as they had every reason to believe that he was dead. Food was provided for 61 days for him and the other 5 members of the crew, but for one man, this food could last 300 days, up to 400 days if Watney wished. He has about a year's worth of food. Luckily, Watney is a botanist, and he finds some potatoes brought by the crew to the hub and decides to find a way to plant them. He cleans solar panels and makes a place to grow potatoes. He brings containers of soil into the hab and uses his excreta as manure, and he plants potatoes. He realizes he doesn't have enough water to feed all the crops he needs, so he burns hydrogen rocket fuel. A byproduct of the reaction is water. In his first attempt to ignite the hydrogen, he causes a moderate explosion, scorching his clothes and hair, but the idea later works, and he is now able to water his crops. After a few days, the inside walls of the garden are covered in condensation, and the plants begin to grow. Back on Earth, NASA holds Watney's funeral. Mars mission director Vincent Kapoor talks to Sanders about getting a satellite to locate Watney's body. Sanders refused on the grounds that the satellite feeds are public and that broadcasting photos of Watney's corpse would be a political and budgetary disaster for NASA. Later, engineer Mindy Park meets with Kapoor when she finds evidence of activity in satellite photos of the Ares 3 site. The solar panels have been cleaned and the rover has moved. They realize that the footage is evidence that Watney is still alive. They held a press conference, and told the public that they would do everything possible to bring Watney back home alive. On Mars, Watney studies maps and discovers that NASA's next mission is Ares 4, which will land in Schiaparelli crater, 3,200 kilometers away. So when the Ares 4 crew arrived at Schiaparelli crater 4 years later, it would have to reach there, but the problem was that its rover could only travel 35 kilometers at a time. Also, it will take around 50 days to reach the destination from the base. He begins working on making adjustments to the rover, so it can travel further without having to return to base to recharge. He succeeds in doubling the battery life, but to achieve this, he has to turn off the heating in the rover. Because it is so cold, he would not be able to survive the journey without heat, so he decided to dig up some radioactive material from the back to keep himself warm. NASA held another press conference, telling the public that by tracking him on their satellites, they had located Watney's target, to complete the next Mars mission when they got there. They have extended the estimated completion time to 9 months instead of 4 years in hopes of reaching him before anything bad happens to Watney. They decide not to tell Watney's crew that he is still alive, as they do not want to distract them. Watney cut 400 potatoes from his garden, planted the smaller potatoes, and set aside the larger potatoes to eat later. Watney uses the rover to find a Pathfinder probe that stopped transmitting in 1997. He hopes it will be used to contact NASA. He digs the old probe out of the sand, deploys its solar panels to charge the batteries, and finds it still works. Using handwritten signals sent to Pathfinder's camera, he is able to send a message to NASA confirming that he is alive. The only thing NASA is really able to do is move the camera around, but Mark sets up a communication system using hexadecimal so he can ask more questions than just yes or no. NASA uses Pathfinder to instruct Watney how to hack the rover to communicate with NASA through Pathfinder. Kapoor tells Watney about his plan to save her, and Watney is relieved. Watney wants to know what his crew's reaction was when they learned he was still alive, but Kapoor regretfully tells him that the crew has not been told. Watney responds with an obscenity. Watney is angry that NASA has kept his team in the dark, and Vincent realizes he has to tell the crew. Ares 3's flight director, Mitch Henderson, contacts the crew and informs them that Watney is alive, and that NASA has kept this secret from them for the past 2 months, so as not to distract them from their mission. The news only makes them angry and guilt-ridden, but Henderson tells them that Watney has repeatedly stressed that it was not his fault and that he had reason to believe that he was dead. The people at NASA have determined that they can reach Watney by Sol 868. The potatoes he has grown and the food in Hab will be exhausted in 900 days. Sanders is concerned that the margin of error is very high. While Watney was tending his garden, an explosion occurred in the entry chamber, injuring him and breaking his helmet. He immediately seals it with duct tape to maintain pressure in the suit. He returns to his garden and finds that all his plants have been destroyed by exposure to Mars' atmosphere, and the system he had installed to water them has also been destroyed. Watney tells NASA about the crash, and they realize that if they don't speed up the deadline to reach Watney, they won't have enough food by the time they get there. NASA decides to skip the inspection of the ship they plan to use to rescue Watney, reasoning that there is probably nothing wrong with it and the inspection would take unnecessary time. Upon launch, the ship exploded, all their hard work going up in flames. Meanwhile in China, 2 directors of the Chinese National Space Administration, Zhu Tao and Guo Ming, witness the explosion and discuss helping NASA by offering their classified booster rocket technology to launch a supply vehicle. Rich Purnell is a prodigy, and the absent-minded but brilliant astronomer hatches a plan to speed up the returning Hermes around Earth, boost gravity, and send it back to Mars to get Watney. The only problem with the plan is that it would add 500 days to Hermes' travel time. The NASA director vetoes the plan, explaining that he does not want to risk the lives of everyone aboard Hermes to save Mark. Watney's crew discuss the plan among themselves, realizing that if they follow it, it will add 500 days to their journey, but ultimately decide it is the right thing to do. Each member of the crew contacts their families to tell them that they will be gone for longer than their original plan. When NASA is informed that Hermes has deviated from its intended path, Hermes hovers near Earth, picks up supplies, and uses the gravitational pull of Earth's atmosphere to launch them back toward Mars without using much fuel. 7 months pass on Mars. Watney has lost a lot of weight, grown a lot of facial hair, and has decaying teeth. He is beginning to lose hope of survival and rescue. He records a video log, asking Commander Lewis to tell his parents about his fate. NASA sends him instructions on making extensive modifications to the rover, which Watney does to his surprise. He packs up the rover and leaves the Ares 3 site. He spent 461 sols there, and now the Ares 4 is headed for the MAV, which was dropped on Mars long before the Ares 4 mission. It is a 3,200-kilometer drive across the trackless and inaccessible landscape of Mars. He stops to sleep for 13 hours each day and recharges the rover's batteries from solar panels. NASA argues that in order for Watney's ship to meet Hermes, Watney would have to remove 5,000 kilograms of weight from the MAV to make it light enough to reach Hermes' orbit. He removes most of the seats, all navigation and control systems, and replaces the nose cone airlock, a critical structural piece and the single heaviest component, with a tarp. Watney leaves the rover for the last time and enters the ship to prepare. He shaves off his overgrown beard, puts on new clothes and a space suit, and awaits instructions from his crew. They reassured him and warned that he might faint due to the force of the launch. Watney's ship takes off, and the tarpaulins almost immediately go into space. Watney remained unconscious for some time. When he regained consciousness, he said he was fine. The crew found that he was a long way from Hermes. The commander instructed one of the crew members to prepare an explosive and tie it to the stern of the ship, to slow down their pace so that they have a better chance of reaching the Watney. They detonated the bomb, but Watney was still a long way away. Lewis decides to use an EVA suit with a wire to reach Watney himself, but he cannot get close enough. So Watney punches a hole in his suit and uses air pressure to get him to the commander. She catches him, traps him, and they go inside to rejoin the rest of the crew. They told NASA that they had found Watney and were going home. Back on Earth after several years away, Watney is teaching NASA about safety and preparedness in space. Ares 4 launches, and the Hermes crew members watch the launch on television with their loved ones. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Have a nice day.